following poem is what I call don't eat feelings. I am the nucleus and the cell of a world, a harmony of sorts, or something I failed at. I am the crunchy leaves on the sidewalks that kids love to crush, the ones that change their color a little faster. I am the sharpness of the knife, elegantly dicing the mushrooms and carrots. And well, I mention carrots because I am emotionally attached to them for reasons unsaid. I am also the drunk seeking attention, the one who loses their way, the one who thinks of lovers and galaxies and politics, everything in between, planning future uprisings. So one night I decided to end it all and what it feels to be in a cell. To be the crunchy, scrunchy leaves, to be shining at the edges like a knife, to be intoxicated into another dimension like slapped into an out of body experience. And so I ate them. I ate them and instantly felt something dancing in my throat. And then I spat everything out. Yuck! It was a nightless identity crisis. But I sat by the window like it meant something. And now I sit crouched with new perceptions, and all I learned was don't eat feelings.
Hey guys, welcome to Buddy Mantra Highlights. Each week we talk to one content creator you know and love and ask them all the questions that you have been dying to know about. Today with us we have the very talented Miss Khyati Arora. An aficionado of poetry and mystery novels alike, Khyati finds solace in everyday aesthetics and the beauty of life in the most mundane habits. An artist in the hours that she finds herself free, and an aspiring geneticist in the hours that she is not, Khyati walks the tightrope between art and science and does so beautifully. Welcome to Buddy Mantra Highlights, Khyati. We are so stoked to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great platform and I can't thank you enough.
Before I even begin, Khyati, thank you so much for that wonderful rendition of your poem Don't Eat Feelings. It truly was soul halting. It was quite enrapturing to witness how you could even capture the most mundane, routine stuff of life and turn it into something that sounds so surreal.
Well, thank you so much. It did come from a place that I think that, it got my entire life into a nutshell. And my only thing to take away is don't eat your feelings.
After hearing this wonderful poem and just finding that beauty in things that you normally consider just normal, how it goes to say something about the beautiful writing that you do. And I just wanted to ask you, how did you realize that it was that you wanted to do in your life?
Well, you know how they say that all the life-changing events happen by mistake. And I mean, so it appears to me now that I see in retrospect. But I had always been into writing poetry, essays, articles, and it's only recently in the past, 2 years that I have figured out how to harness a career out of this. So as a child, it started with me trying to, rhyme words, then making sentences, eventually creating a story of sorts. And voila, it was a poem in no time. But my first encounter did happen about back in 2013, which was a poetry competition by the Times of India. And as the path unfolded, I did win the competition and had my entry in the newspaper. But I still recall the sheer joy of winning that because it was just so pure, like a simple poem that they liked and appreciated, so they published that. And it was not the way I write now, that I take into consideration so many other things and so many other perceptions. But that was just my very first one, and it feels like a very pure emotion from them.
Yeah, it really is great when you win the first thing that you want to in the passion that you want to pursue. And I remember my first experience writing and getting that kind of praise from my parents who are also writers themselves. So to get that kind of praise is great, and I know the euphoria that comes with it. I wanted to ask you, how does poetry come to you? Like, do you tend to focus on rhyming the sentences that you create, or do you just like let whatever's in your heart come through?
So to this, I will say that I am a person who functions a lot by inspiration, which is why I spend a lot of time to find enough motivation in all corners before I can get into the mood and vibe for something as relevant and as necessary as studying, or something as recreational as writing poetry. So I mean that said, it is always that I come across a photograph or some art or a person or even an event, imaginary or not, but that instigates a thought, and then I start building on it. So I feel words come easy to me, but when it comes to the thought or what I want to deliver with a particular poetry or a piece that I'm writing, it takes more effort to find what I want to tell. And it's just like that patch in my life when I'm like, oh my god, my life is buffering, wait, and I have no inspiration, and suddenly I'll probably be watching a movie or speaking to someone when I'm suddenly struck by inspiration at 2:30 in the afternoon maybe, and then thrown into another dimension with my mind running at light speed. And this may either sound relatable or cringy, but either ways, I am a victim of it.
I really think that it sounds completely relatable, because I remember my 2:30 a.m. rants where I just wake up, like I'm sleeping and I wake up in the middle of my sleep, just remembering this one idea that I have, which could be a really good story or a book, and then I can't even let go of that idea. I can't even like go back to sleep because I'm sure that I'm gonna forget it, and then it just comes out in like pages and pages, and I totally get what you're trying to say.
And I
What
think
like
that's how that should be. Because, have like a dream journal or something next to your bed and write it all down, because you have to write down. You will forget 100%.
uh, like a dream journal is a very good thought, but when like you're half asleep and you wake up and you try to put everything down on paper, it's just all incoherent thoughts, but at least there's something from the wonderful inspiration that you get. So okay, so one more thing. um you write poetry on really like wonderful stuff, and even the most mundane stuff that you bring to life through your words. What are the favorite things that you have found that you like to write about? Is it just everyday stuff, or is it something world changing or happening in your life or something like that?
I wish it were, that amazing that it could, change world with itself like a butterfly effect of sorts. But I can't really put a finger on something specific that I love to write about. But I will say that I um, like to document my life. So I tend to write, let me put it this way, that I tend to read more into a situation enough to pull like a poetic exponential to it and then write about it until I exhaust it. So I think that is how I go about the entire process of writing, because as I said, any art, any movie can become my inspiration, and it's just that I like to document that I watched this movie and this is what I took back from it. So documenting my life basically.
Right. It's also like a great way to go back to your memories, I guess, when you document your life all these days, and then years from now, you just want to go back to those days where you wrote poetry about everything that happened in your life, and it's just great because there is stuff that you can go back to. Which I guess a lot of people don't really like recognize. It's more of, let's write about stuff that really changes worlds, and not more about stuff that touches your heart through the most simple stuff. um, I've seen your like Instagram page. I've followed you since forever. I'm a fan. You could call me a fan. And One thing that I've noticed is like with every post that you put up this very soul halting piece of poetry, which is like you read it and you feel like you really relate to it. There are sometimes when I found that I couldn't understand it, and even then I could feel something primal about it just touching my heart. And what I wanted to ask you was, is do you ever get any hate for it? Like, do you get constructive criticism for it, or do you get hate for it, or do people just go like, how can you write about such stuff, or how can you write something so pointedly about something, and how do you deal with it, basically?
Feel that we've come a very long way from how the internet used to be. But as much as we call it a safe space to share and engage with everybody around the world, the thing is that at the end of the day, there are still people out there who are not happy to see you create art, even in the most pure form. Let me just put it into words that way. So there are always going to be somebody out there who's going to read your poem, interpret it in a completely different way. Mind you, I didn't say completely wrong way, but I said different, because it is just different. There is no right or wrong to this, because art is subjective. So I would say that they interpret something very differently, and one way or another, if somebody wants to get at you, they are going to use words like feminism and activism, and there's just going to be a lot of these millennial words that they use and throw at you solely to get back at you for no reason. And they just want to be a part of
It's even for the good stuff. Like, feminism is not exactly bad, but because you're a woman who's talking about feminism through art, people are just gonna hate on you for
at the end of the day,
something
my
like that.
poetry, I'm very, very possessive about my poetry, because who isn't? And I am definitely a part of that. But it's how you take it to be. So at times you don't have to justify yourself. You don't have to talk back to them. In fact, at times you don't even have to talk to them. But what is most important is not letting them encroach into your sphere of self-doubt. That shouldn't rise. So how I deal with it is to just calmly talk to them and understand why they are saying what they are saying, because I want to make it constructive rather than disruptive and destructive. If Even if they are trying to get back at me, or if they don't like my poetry, that's fine, their opinion. But I think that is how I deal with it, because I'm a very non-judgmental person. So when somebody ends up judging me like this, I'm open. I'm like, okay, bring it on. We will speak your language. We will try to understand what you want to say. And this is how I deal with it. But the last thing that I would like to say is that when somebody copies your art or copies your poetry, or even your piece that you've written, an article or something, or when they troll you and get back at you like that with hate, they are watching you. They are reading your stuff, and even if they are not understanding the way that you would like them to, they are still seeing you. You're in them. You're in their head.
Yeah. I love the way you put a positive spin on it, that like there are trolls, there are people who hate on your work, but it's also like a testament to the fact that they are actually watching you, and uh, they may not like what you're doing, but there's this grudging admirance because they keep coming back to it. And I also liked how you spoke about distancing yourself from the like the work that you put out to the world. That is, you are possessive about your work, but since it's very subjective, you kind of don't like hold on to it when somebody judges you a different way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free space, so you can have your opinion, and it can be different from mine, and I really respect that. But I'm also really glad that you came to me and you said that I don't like this that you've written, or I don't understand what you have written. So I really I appreciate that.
I
I appreciate that.
I guess a lot of poets and authors, of course, like get that wrong when they are still just getting out into the world of putting their poetry and stuff. because it's more of it's my stuff and I don't want people to hate it. But they soon need to like realize that once you put it out to the world, it's the world's stuff, and whatever way they take it as, it's now not yours anymore, or at least it's open to judgment now. Yeah. So now that we spoke so much about putting out your work and not being affected by the hate that you get and all that, I wanted to ask you a question about putting out your work basically. And if you're comfortable answering this, that is, what are your future ambitions when it comes to writing poetry or as an author?
So, well, a little secret that I am currently working on a poetry book. So my poems are ready because, of course, you write them out and it's there. But I just don't want it to be a general poetry book because I also make some art. So I am, trying to create some complementary art with the book, and hopefully maybe next year we will be publishing them pages. And well, I also want to be able to share this on this platform because this is a great platform, and I think you have a certain reach to a certain expansive audience. So I would like to say this, that if I am able to help somebody in any capacity, or able to share the nuances of writing a book in or even writing poetry in a small way to motivate whoever I can, because I have witnessed some wonderful writers hold back on writings that they've made for commercial purposes. So I want to just put it out there that don't hold back, and if you'd like to reach out to me, I'm completely here for you.
I guess a lot of like what rises with people backing down from publishing their work is the intimidation of being like not reaching a big audience, of being a failure or stuff like that. And to kind of see it from the perspective of a person who's just risen up from where they are right now actually helps, which is exactly what we are trying to do with our platform. And we're so happy that to see that you're so like forthcoming with what you're going to be doing about the book basically that you're going to be publishing. It's so nice to see somebody like tell you that it's okay, you can do it, I'm doing it, you can do what I'm doing, and if you have any problems you can just come and tell me about it and I'm going to help you. And that's just like, we as a community, as a writing community, we need to support each other, and to see that there is actual support and not just stuff for like your namesake or whatever is just great.
Yeah, I completely agree, in complete agreement, 100%, because, as you said, that we as writers need to, we don't need to step on each other and write better poetry than each other. We just need to come together, because the impact that we as a community are going to have is going to be huge. And I'm not saying that there is a huge population that reads books, but with how many ever people who are out there in India or even internationally, we have to stay there for each other, and to appreciate each other's art, to appreciate each other's writing is something that should come inherently at whatever small part that you can appreciate. We should.
Right. That is like, that's true. That's so important for all of us to know and to understand and to partake in actually, possibly once we go on. Now, like, I've asked you so many heavy questions, and I'm sure that everybody is just like so tired. Our listeners will also be like, okay, this is enough of advice. Kind of, let's move on to the lighter questions, shall we? So, one of my questions, again, this is based on writing too, is that when you write a lot, you also need to read a lot and kind of get a sense of whatever you're going to write about. You need to read about what has been written already and base yourself on that. So what genre of yours, like what genre of literature is your favorite to read, and like how does it impact your writing?
So, well, my favorite genre to read is fiction, because I mean, we all need to escape the world once in a while. So, I would definitely say fiction. but I also like to read about things that I am very fascinated by at that particular moment, which might not be the case say 2 days later. So what I'm trying to say is that so there was this one time, because now I am a fourth year student, almost finishing my genetic engineering BTech. But there was a time in my second year beginning when I was very into witchcraft and the Wicca religion, which completely piqued my interest. And oh boy, how avidly did I read literature on the same. But say a week later, I was reading about homemade bread. So that escalated quickly.
I guess anything reading anything is reading, so it's just gonna help in
Yeah.
the long run. But I also love the huge jump from just witchcraft to bread.
Yeah, and that happened to be a case with me a lot of times. So I'm also very interested in multiple interpretations of, say, Shakespeare. So there are a lot of websites, a lot of articles which talk about the innuendos Shakespeare had written in his multiple plays. And when you do come across those, because they seem like normal English, but what he's trying to deliver from that is so much more humorous and hilarious. So I'm up for it. I'm game.
Okay, so along with just reading about stuff that that inspires you to write about stuff, there's also people who really inspire
Yeah.
us to become the writers that we are aspiring to become, basically. So, like, who's your favorite inspiration when it comes to poetry in specific, and like why?
So very guilty of this, but anyone who knows me is certain to mention Megha Rao's name on top of
I
this
did
list.
know that your
And
Instagram
as
page
for her poetry,
features your page features her a lot of
yeah,
times.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm very guilty of it. Yeah. So, for her poetry, I would say that there are two patterns that I've observed. One, that she either writes a lot about love, and love in all its forms, to say like for family, friends, lovers, and all of that good stuff. Or the second pattern that I've seen is that she writes about mundane, general life, her house, her cats, etc. And she makes it so easy to read and to connect. So it's like it's so relatable, because you are also living in a house, she's also living in a house. The poetry that you see, you don't have to read between the lines, you don't have to interpret it, it's just out there. It's like it's more of a story than poetry.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not difficult to understand. It's not some great work of literature that you need to spend time decoding. You can just like lose yourself in the feelings that she's
Yeah,
creating for
yeah.
you.
And I would also like to add to this list a name that I've come across multiple times, and I've been following her for a couple of years now. Her name is Olivia Gatwood. And about her poetry, I wouldn't really say too much, because I don't think I have the right ways to articulate how, her words can sweep the ground beneath your feet. You would just have to go hear her. But both these women, how I said that at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon, I would just be struck by inspiration. They are probably the source of it, because when I'm short on inspiration and I have the itch to write, I just read or listen to them until I get tickled to write some myself.
Right, right. That's totally understandable. I generally don't listen to poetry or read books right before writing, because I tend to feel like it kind of my writing kind of mooches off on what has already been written. But of course, writing is like so subjective, not just in the reading part, but in the writing itself, that you can do it whichever way you want to. And like, okay, so the last question for the more serious round of questions, which is, what piece of advice would you like to give to our fellow like listeners right now, and to any content creator that wants to go out there and put their poetry?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you so much for stumbling on this podcast, or on whichever platform you're watching. Thank you for listening, because if you've stuck by this time, I am really glad. Like it gives me slight amounts of validation, I will not lie. So my little piece of advice that I would like to give the listeners and viewers right now is, Two things, actually three things. Number one being compartmentalization. Number two, trust yourself and give yourself that free sphere and free atmosphere to lose yourself into writing, because you can't do it under somebody's eyes. So free yourself. And the third one is consistency, which is, I mean, we'll come to that later. But what I mean by saying compartmentalization is that as writers, we often seek appreciation in ways which we shouldn't. Because, as I said, all forms of art are beautiful but subjective. And, we tend to let the numbers, the shares, and everything influence us to a degree that's not healthy. And, on the way, we lose the cardinal purpose of why we started to write. So my suggestion is compartmentalize what you write for the world and what you write for yourself, because at the end of the day, something that you write for yourself is for you. You read that later on and you're going to still feel proud of yourself. When you put something out into the world, as you had also mentioned, that it's a conscious choice that you have made, that you want to share this with the world. So it's now there for everybody to read, for everybody to share this poem that you've written. Coming to the second point, which I said, trust yourself and give yourself a free sphere, is, as I said, numbers, shares, influence us. It will take you a little time if you're starting off to detach yourself from these worldly, materialistic, good fuzzy feelings. But yeah, you will always find somebody else who's going to be better. You will always find somebody else's poetry that inspires you or inspires others more than your poetry. And you're just going to think that, when is my poetry or my writing going to have an impact like that? That, my dear friend, is, I think, something that you will have to free yourself of, because that is an inhibition that is going to hold you back from freeing that space in your mind that allows you to write. So that is my second point. And thirdly, when I said consistency, I meant if you're starting off and if you really want to create, an audience, a niche audience for your own writing, unfortunately, you have to be a little consistent. And I say have to with, it's an overstatement. If you choose to be, if you choose this way, then consistency is a great option to choose, because people are on the lookout. Even if you don't know that, people are waiting for your poetry, they in one way or another are. So when they do happen to come across your writings, they read. So give that to them, give that to your audience, because as I said, you have commercial writing and you have personal writing. So use that, harness that power that you have.
Right, right. And that makes a lot of sense. And like the part about trusting yourself is like, if you've put out a piece of poetry or if you've put out any like prose that you have written, and you kind of look for validation, you kind of look for, I don't know, your judgment from other people to decide how good your whatever piece of writing is, you're never gonna really be satisfied with what you have done. Just be happy with what you have created. Like, you have created it now, you think it's good, it is good. And that's what I guess a lot of content creators today need to like accept before they start hoping to get bigger, because as long as you work with the hope of becoming a bigger personality, you're never gonna reach it.
Absolutely, you've got it all right.
Yeah. Okay, so we've had a lot of heavy questions. We've had all the questions that tell you almost everything about Khyati professionally, but there is a small round that we'll be having which kind of delves into knowing Khyati personally. Not exactly the way you're thinking it is. So, Khyati, we're going to be having a would you rather round, if you're up for it,
Absolutely.
that is.
Yes.
So, in this, I'll be asking you, like, would you rather do this or that? And you have to give me an answer to which one. You can choose to explain it or not. That depends on you. Okay, so your first question is, would you rather listen to music while writing, or would you never listen to music all your life?
No. Oh god. Okay, I will listen to music while writing, because I don't think I can do without music my entire life. No.
Yeah. So a small a tip to the listeners: when we were first recording this podcast, we kind of I changed the question to not listening to music while writing and not listening to music while writing, and it was easier to make the choice then. But now that it comes down to never listening to music, the choice
Yeah,
changes
yeah.
altogether. Okay, so my second question: um, would you prefer to listen to pop music or R&B music?
Pop. 100%. Yeah, yeah.
Pop, definitely pop. I think just shake it off. All the Taylor Swift vibes here. Okay, so my third question is: would you tap dance? Would you learn to tap dance or perform in a flash mob? Definitely. I like how fast you were with that answer. Yeah, and doing like a desi flash mob in the middle of New York is probably one of your dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we should mention this also, that the last time we were recording this, the follow-up question to the tap dance versus flash mob was, would I do a Bollywood flash mob, or would I, go right into, Times Square and perform there? And what I chose was doing Bollywood dance on time at Times Square, and I think that's 100%. It'll
I
be a
like
dream
how
come
it was
true. Oh
like,
my God.
if I give you
Yes.
a would you rather with two options, it's just both the options amalgamated with each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so mountains or beaches?
Mountains.
Would you draw, like for the rest of your life, would you draw with squiggly lines, or would you write each sentence rhyming? This includes all your research papers and your professional works, okay, not just your poetry.
My professors are going to be impressed with the creativity.
I know, and like it's a positive spin on how boring all of the research papers are going to be. So they're just going to be like, Khyati Arora put a very nice rhyming spin to her poetry and her research paper. I'm very impressed.
And I'm instantly thinking what to rhyme with, like bacteria, but there's no word for it. But that's okay.
That's like a completely different can of worms for now. Okay, so next question: cake or ice cream for life? You have to choose one of them. You can't have the other.
Thanks.
Cake. Okay, makes sense. Ice cream cake isn't included though.
I was going to say that mix both of them, but yeah.
Again, amalgamate both the choices. Okay, so I guess we are all done with the rapid fire, the would you rather questions. Thank you so much for joining us, Khyati. It was so wonderful having you.
Thank you so much. It's a completely exciting experience, and I love talking to you, especially in times when this simple conversation, without any work, and there are no to do lists on your mind. I think this was wonderful, very cathartic.
It was for me also. I love talking to you, like to talk to a fellow content creator and kind of get like realize that your journey is not really different from somebody else, gives you that whole we are all in the same boat feeling. So even when you feel like you're drowning, you're not really, because there are people with you. Okay.
We're all a community.
Yeah, exactly. We do it all together. Yeah. And again, thank you so much for joining us, Khyati, today. It was great having you. To all our listeners, you can now catch new episodes of Buddy Mantra highlights wherever you listen to all your podcasts from. Just type in BUDDYMANTRA, that is Buddy Mantra, and you shall find us. This was your host Shreya with our guest for today, Khyati Arora, and you shall see me next week.